The free agency frenzy continues. Massive money, quarterbacks moving everywhere. And, hey, remember the Nuggets? Yeah, they're going to make sure we all remember the Nuggets with the big win last night. Plus, Joakim Noah joins the show. Some superstar power. We'll figure out what it takes to go back-to-back. Yahoo Sports Daily starts right now. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. It's Yahoo Sports Daily. For the next 2 hours, we're rack, stacked, and packed and ready to get you caught up on everything you need to know. We got some superstar guests. We got a lot to get into. But as we sit right now, Caroline, I am surprised that we have woken up this morning and there's one major quarterback piece that has not landed yet in free agency, because we all knew Kyler Murray was going to get cut by the Arizona Cardinals. He did get cut. And now all of a sudden we're trying to figure out where he's going to end up. You see this Pelissero saying the Vikings plan to make a push for Kyler Murray and are the favorite to land him. Everybody's taking a little bit of time. He's talking to a lot of teams. A reminder to the world, because so much of his salary, all of his salary, will be paid next year by the Arizona Cardinals. This is one of those glorious situations where somebody can sign Kyler Murray for the league minimum. Won't cost him anything. But it's yet to be seen. Will he do a one-year deal somewhere or go for a long-term deal if that's what they offer in Minnesota? And this is where I struggle. I struggle, Caroline, because every time we try and turn around and make these reclamation projects, who's going to be next? I just don't think Kyler Murray is that guy.
No, I always say in life and in football, when somebody tells you who they are the first time, believe them. And sometimes that can change, right? We had the Sam Darnold reclamation project, the Geno Smith reclamation project, Daniel Jones reclamation project, question mark. But I don't believe that Kyler Murray is that guy. You're not that guy, pal. Because the Arizona Cardinals told us that he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. Everybody wants to use but the XYZ percentage decimal point analytics says that Kyler Murray's in the top 20. I don't care. The Arizona Cardinals benched Kyler Murray last year. The Arizona Cardinals said, we've got a better shot at winning games with Jacoby Brissett than we do with our former number 1 overall pick, who we're paying $35 million. Kyler Murray was a $35 million bench warmer last year. The Arizona Cardinals told us exactly what and who Kyler Murray is. And so I understand Kevin O'Connell wants to play the same game that, so many of us play in dating of like, I can fix him. I know he damaged goods, but I can fix him. Can ya? Can ya? So I'm not convinced in the slightest. I'm not convinced with the narrative that Kyler Murray's going to come in and he's going to push JJ McCarthy. That's not why you bring in Kyler Murray. You don't bring in Kyler Murray to push and to motivate your young quarterback. No, the Vikings are giving up on JJ McCarthy. That's why they're bringing in a young quarterback that's in theory in his prime. And the idea, I think, is for Kyler Murray to be the starter all season long in Minnesota and to get back to the postseason. But I don't think that Kyler Murray is going to do that. And yet again, for the second year in a row, we're going to have an elite defense with one of the best, if not the best, wide receivers in the National Football League that goes totally and completely wasted because the Vikings can't figure out the quarterback position. I do not like this move.
Look, 100%, I'm going to start to put a ton of this blame squarely at the feet of KOC. Like, I get it. We continually say that their head coach is a quarterback whisperer because he had some success with a bunch of different people, revolving door, injury, all of these things. We have anointed KOC as this just difference maker at the quarterback position. That's fine. That's fine. Let's also acknowledge that he is at least part of the organization. I know that they fired their GM this offseason because of this, but they are part of the organization that looked at his quarterback room with Daniel Jones and looked at his quarterback room with Sam Darnold and looked at his quarterback with JJ and said, nah, we got it. We got it. We'll go with JJ. Look, I don't care how they got to where they are. I'm tired of us just lumping in Sam Darnold to all of this suck conversation, and it wears me out. Like, there is no world where I believe Sam Darnold and Kyler Murray are in the same category as quarterbacks. Sam Darnold went out and had 14 wins and tremendous success. He had a couple of bad games. Yeah, he did. Almost every quarterback has a couple of bad games. We just don't talk about it. We use that as a narrative of why they simply couldn't run it back with Sam Darnold. And Vikings fans killed me for that, by the way, at the time. Now I would ask Viking fans, how'd you feel last year not having Sam Darnold, right? He goes to Seattle, and all of a sudden it's like, well, no, it's Clint Kubiak that's getting Sam Darnold. No, at some point, we got to give Sam Darnold credit. I watched an NFC Championship game that would not have been won by Seattle if it weren't for Sam Darnold flat out playing his ass off. So this presumption that I can take any bum in the league and win games with him because I won games with Sam Darnold is disrespectful. To me, what you have in Kyler Murray is a quarterback that likes to be creative. It's a quarterback that, whether we love this or not, these are actual facts. They did put a caveat in his last contract, in his mega contract extension, about video game play, about study habits. There was a knock all the way back to college on Kyler Murray, on how quickly he processes some things, on how much he studies some things, on how well he absorbs playbooks, all of these things. So now he goes to an offense in Minnesota where he would be asked, presuming he signs it, where he would be asked to walk up to the line of scrimmage, read the entire field before the snap, drop back, and make throws on time in an offense that asks that. There's never been a time where we've looked at Minnesota and said, you know what we want there? We want a creative playmaker that's going to run around until people get open and find a way to throw the football. I don't think that that's a great scheme fit. And this is where we say, well, KOC will make it work. Will he? Will he? I mean, because certainly didn't make JJ work. And part of that's on JJ. JJ sucks. I get it. I don't think that at the end of the day, this team won 9 games last year with mostly JJ as their quarterback. That is a testament to how well this roster played. That is, and I take nothing away from the fact that JJ sucks. I think this year, there's no real wins above replacements between Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy. I don't believe Kyler Murray is an epic starting quarterback in this league. I don't believe Kyler Murray is the top half of the NFL starting quarterback. I believe somebody's going to go out there and get him. In a couple of years, we're going to be asking why they got him, where they're cutting him, and who's paying the money for him. Kyler Murray is a bridge at best and not a bridge that helps the Vikings.
It's not a bridge that helps the Vikings because I think the roster around the quarterback is too good. And Kyler Murray, I mean, like, he's going to win you enough games to win 7 or 8 games. Not enough to be relevant. Not enough to be good enough for this Vikings fan base. Not enough to silence any of the questions that I think exist, or at least should exist around Kevin O'Connell. Because right now, I always, view organizations that once one, either the coach or GM goes, the next one who didn't get fired is on the hot seat. Kevin O'Connell, I think, is coaching for his job because Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah just got fired because of the quarterback position. And if Kevin O'Connell is this quarterback whisperer, if KOC is this, offensive genius mastermind that all of us believe that he is or was, then Kevin O'Connell absolutely had say in the quarterback decision. That KOC said, I am going to hitch my wagon to J.J. McCarthy over Sam Darnold or over Daniel Jones. And Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is the one who had to pay for it with his job. So KOC is next. KOC should be feeling the heat. Like, you don't have an elite defense and Justin Jefferson, who, by the way, I think KOC should be incredibly uncomfortable by all of the comments that Justin Jefferson has made around the Super Bowl, around this offseason, about how rough this past season was, about, his very clear commitment to JJ McCarthy. Like, KOC should feel incredibly uncomfortable about the fact that his superstar player is unhappy in Minnesota, very clearly. So KOC is coaching for his job. Like, KOC's not going to get fired tomorrow. That's not what I'm saying. But the heat is getting dialed up on his seat. And so Kevin O'Connell's master plan, genius idea to save his job and his reputation, to save this season for the Minnesota Vikings, to punch their ticket to the postseason, which is, I think, the only thing that's going to be adequate and sufficient for this Vikings team, is Kyler Murray. Really? I'd rather have Derek Carr than Kyler Murray. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No,
not for the next 10 years. But if I want to make the playoffs, I'd rather have Derek Carr.
The Cardinals told you they'd rather have Jacoby Brissett. I mean, think about what we're saying here. Jacoby Brissett, who's bounced around the league, and you look at Kyler, 7 years as a starter, made over $170 million in his career. He's had one in games started this year in his career. He's had one winning season. 1 year, 2021, where he went 9-5. Every other year of his career, he has a losing record. He's never had a 4,000-yard season. He's had a couple of somewhat decent seasons, but he hasn't had anything to me. He was paid on the promise that people thought that they were going to be able to continue to get some level of growth out of him. That's what the contract felt like at the time. And everybody looked at it and said, a little curious, but no, Kyler's going to be great. Is he? I just don't know where we get it from. I don't know why we're trying to anoint somebody that just hasn't been good enough over and over and over again. And I get it. Maybe it's because Baker. Maybe it's because Sam Darnold. Maybe it's because we saw at least one chapter of reclamation for Geno. Maybe it's because we saw some good from Daniel Jones, who we'll get to a little bit later in the show. But again, I think all of that presumes that these guys are wired the same. Like, where have we ever seen any report coming out in the last however many years? Where have we ever seen any report comes out that makes us feel like Kyler Murray is just wired like one of those guys that absolutely won't stop until he figures this out and becomes that guy? Where have we seen that? Where have we seen proof of concept for anything other than what we're doing, which is saying, okay, the Vikings have somebody that's really good with quarterbacks, and Kyler Murray was obviously a first overall pick. Like, he's somebody that has a ton of talent. So we see a ton of talent. We see a quarterback whisper, this is going to work this time. You think the Cardinals didn't do everything they possibly could to make it work over and over and over again? Maybe you don't love Cliff Kingsbury as an offensive coordinator or a head coach, but many people seem to. Many people seem to. When Cliff Kingsbury turned around and had success in the rookie year with Jaden Daniels, how many people turned around and said, of course, look at it. He's just so good at unflowering the things that need to be unflowered within a quarterback. Like, we gave all of this benefit of the doubt to Cliff Kingsbury. And now we're making it sound like suddenly Kyler Murray has had a trash heap of quarterbacks, a trash heap of talent around him. Like, he had Marvin Harrison Jr., who was supposed to be an unmistakably incredible wide receiver, come to him. He's had tight end weapons. He's had weapons around him. For what? For what? Like, I just don't get why we presume that Kyler Murray is going to be a franchise savior. If I'm Kyler, I want to go somewhere where I'm in the best situation to succeed for 1 year to rehab my image. And if I'm a team that's looking at it for 1 year and saying, okay, we're not going to be great, let's see if we can get something with Kyler, maybe. But if I'm the Vikings and I'm looking at my roster and I'm saying, golly, everybody says we are right on the precipice of greatness. If you believe that, you look at it and say, what's the missing piece? Kyler Murray? I'm not buying that. Caroline, there's no world where I buy that Kyler Murray is a franchise savior that delivers a Super Bowl to the Minnesota Vikings. I'll be freezing cold takes on this if he turns around and wins a Super Bowl. And if he does, good for him. Always root for players to succeed. But I'd be more shocked to see the Vikings win the Super Bowl with Kyler Murray than I would to see the Vikings miss the playoffs entirely during his tenure if he becomes a starter there.
I mean, we went from calling Marvin Harrison Maserati Marv to Mazda Marv, and I don't think that's because Marvin Harrison Jr. all of a sudden regressed as a wide receiver. I'm going to put that squarely at the feet of Kyler Murray. Now, I think we're in agreement here. Like, I don't believe that Kyler Murray is a franchise savior. I don't even know if I really believe that Kyler Murray is a starting quarterback in the National Football League. What is the better alternative for the Minnesota Vikings that we think would be okay, this is a go for it move? Like, this is the kind of move that you make to say missing the postseason is not good enough, and we are pushing our chips into the middle to not just get into the postseason, but to make some noise in the postseason, to recreate the magic of the 14-win season that we had with Sam Darnold. Because I am with you squarely. I think that this is a wrong move to make if you're Kevin O'Connell and you are, your seat's getting hot a bit. But what's the alternative? Kirk Cousins?
Sometimes, that's the thing. Like, sometimes when you screw something up, you don't have a lot of alternatives. They screwed this whole quarterback room up so much, they don't have a lot of alternatives. But let me be clear. I would rather have old-ass, bum-leg Kirk Cousins coming out, wobbling his way onto the field, whatever he's got left in the tank. Love you, Kirk. I would rather have that version of the quarterback. I'd rather have this stage Kirk Cousins than Kyler Murray, and it ain't even close. Because Kirk walks into a situation, he knows he walks into an offense, he knows he walks into a language we know. Like, I would much rather have Kirk Cousins. I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers. Like, as much as I don't think Aaron Rodgers has much left in the tank, that, again, not even close. I'd
much rather have Aaron Rodgers. I would much rather have Aaron Rodgers because they've given up on J.J. McCarthy. Because the counterpoint to that would be, well, you're not bringing in Aaron Rodgers to be a mentor for J.J. McCarthy. You're not bringing him in to help develop your young quarterback. And I would agree with that. I think the Vikings are done. Like, I think the Vikings have seen all they needed to see. I've seen all I needed to see. I'm good on J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy is not a franchise quarterback. J.J. McCarthy is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think the Vikings have squarely given up on J.J. McCarthy. I do not blame them if that is the case. Like, it gets late early in the NFL. You can't always afford to wait 3 to 4 years to see if a guy can, one, even be available to stay on the field, and two, actually look like he's grasping the speed of the game and grasping what's asked of him as a starting quarterback in the NFL. So if you're giving up on J.J. McCarthy, I'm with you, Fitz. Aaron Rodgers is a way better option.
I think I finally found the push. Maybe if I had to decide between Kyler Murray and this version now of Jimmy G, that might be the push for me, where I'm like, all right, either way, you're kind of screwed. So we'll just
you
go
don't
with
mean that. Yeah.
I mean, it's a push. It's a push. Kyler and Jimmy G, that's a push. I'll give you a push. What are you taking? You're taking Kyler clearly. I've gone too far. You're telling me that's the line I've gone too far.
I mean, after all of this being mean that I have been doing to Kyler Murray, I think I would take. I mean, if you're asking me who I'd rather go on a date with, Jimmy G. Who would I rather have?
You and me both.
If my two options are Kyler or Jimmy G, I think I would have to go Kyler. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
I love to use this baseball term all the time in football. Wins above replacement. I don't think there's a lot of war between Kyler Murray and Jimmy G at this point. All right, one quarterback they can't go out and take a look at is Daniel Jones. We got more quarterback movement to get you updated on, including this man who got the bag yesterday. We'll tell you what it means next.
Well, one of the things, too, that keeps coming up, I keep hearing, and it kept coming up in response to my story after the hearing and during the hearing, is, hey, why doesn't he just go pro? Imagine being a college kid and making $5 million plus.
It's pretty easy. It's just money, guys. It's guaranteed money. This is probably, for most of these individuals, the last time they can make this much money playing the sport.
How can I sit here in one breath and say the sport is broken when it looks like the audience is more pleased with the sport than ever?
It's not broke. It's just we've been drinking out of a fire hose for 3 years. But it can't just be pay them, kick them off the team, next guy, next team. I worry about these kids' long-term health and what they're going to do with their lives when they're 26 and 27, when they have no roots at any university.
James Rodriguez is reportedly joining Minnesota United. The main thing as a fan of the league, I would just be excited to see him play. And then Minnesota against NYCFC, get to go see James. And what if that game is at Citi Field, bro? Queens is going to lose their mind.
It's going to go nuts. Astoria and Jackson Heights will be empty. There will be 3 Uruguayans, 4 Argentinians, and 6 Mexicans in all of Jackson Heights going, what the hell's going on? Where is everybody?
Admittedly, I'm a huge fan of Travis Hunter as a prospect. Do you have any sense of what his growth is going to be like, where he might be playing more and more, what his role is going to look like, especially on the offensive side?
The way he is, his personality, I think this injury in his rookie year is only going to just make him better. He was starting to really get going on offense, and we were starting to click. So who knows what the rep count looks like, but I know he's a special receiver when he gets the ball in his hands.
The breaking news that we got yesterday, the Colts and Daniel Jones agreed to a 2-year, $88 million deal that could be worth up to $100 million, receives $50 mil in his first year, making it the largest 2-year contract in history for a quarterback that is coming off of a leg and an Achilles issue. So we're talking about multiple leg injuries. We have no idea when he'll play this year and how effective he will when he gets there. Caroline, I told you I thought it would be a short deal with some money pumped in that made sense. I'm a little stunned. The reports early on were that he wanted $50 million a season, and everybody said, well, people in hell want ice water. Turns out he at least got $50 million for one of those seasons. So good for his agent, good for Daniel Jones, good for the Colts. What do you think?
No, not good for the Colts. Could be. I don't know, because I find it so fascinating that we as a football society have been so slow to change our minds about Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold just won the deepest and most competitive division in the NFL, and won the Super Bowl. Huh, crazy. And people are still putting him in the same Super Bowl winning quarterback tier as like Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson. Now, no disrespect to Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson, but I think that's disrespectful to Sam Darnold to talk about him in that light. Like, we now have a 2-year sample size, including a Lombardi trophy, of Sam Darnold playing high-level quarterback play. Now, does Sam Darnold have limitations? Does Sam Darnold have his warts? Of course he does. He's not perfect. But we're all so slow to shed this stigma about Sam Darnold. But we're all very quick to change our minds about Daniel Jones. That we saw a few good games from Daniel Jones, and look, very good games. Daniel Jones was playing at an MVP caliber level. We were talking on the show about how could Daniel Jones win the league MVP this season. But that's what, a 6 or 7 game sample size? I'll have to pull up his box score of exactly how many games he played before he got injured. 6, 7, 8 games, somewhere in that area. You have a 6, 7 to 8 game sample size of Daniel Jones after his first 4 to 5 years of his career being truly dreadful. I thought his career was over. I thought Daniel Jones was headed toward the land of being a forever backup. So we have 4 to 5 seasons, however many it is, of Daniel Jones playing average at absolute best quarterback play. Then 6 to 8 games of him playing really well. And now all of a sudden, he's a $50 million quarterback? Doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me. Now, could Daniel Jones be the reclamation project that Sam Darnold was? For sure. I'm just not convinced of that.
Well, you know that I loved this fit coming together. I like Shane Steichen's offense, particularly with Daniel Jones. I think, as I said last year when he signed there, what I liked about it was it gives you a little bit of a, wish.com version of what the Eagles try and run. You got a mobile quarterback that can do a lot, that's comfortable getting rid of the ball quickly as he moves around in the pocket. There's a lot that I liked about Daniel Jones, with Shane Steichen. $100 million up to over the first 2 years is rich for somebody that I don't think we should have a lot of expectations for this year. And it is interesting because I think what the Colts have done is they've given themselves the opportunity to hedge their bet a little bit, organizationally, not just with Daniel Jones. This is a 2-year deal. I think that the seat is wildly hot at this point on their GM, Chris Ballard, and their head coach, Shane Steichen. So knowing that this is a very hot seat, what they're going to have to see at some point to sort of calm everybody down is that same version of Daniel Jones that we saw at the beginning of the year last year. We're going to have to see by the end of this season this year. And if we do that, they've got him locked in for a whole nother year. Everything's coming up roses. Everybody's great. But also, if they don't do that and everybody gets fired, you're only committed to Daniel Jones for one more year before you can sort of reset all of this. And one thing we're going to say a lot between now and next April is that next year's draft quarterback class looks like it's really good. So maybe the Colts are giving them themselves an opportunity to sort of see where the organization is in a calendar year to then figure out where they are on Daniel Jones, where they are drafting quarterback, and who their head coach is going to be. So I understand all of that. It just feels like a lot of money. And Daniel Jones got paid once in New York, which was incredible. He got paid because he had a really nice run at the end of the season and a good playoff game against a terrible Vikings defense, right? So he went out and got himself paid. I always love that. I love guys getting generational wealth. But, Caroline, it feels like the same thing has happened here. We've seen just enough. And you are right. It's at the very least interesting because I'm consistent on this in all of our time working together, all my time at Yahoo and before that ESPN. I like 3-year sample sizes. You know that at the quarterback position. But particularly, I don't freak over half a season. I will never freak over half a season. So when the whole world thought Jordan Love was anointed after half a season, I didn't. And when Jordan Love fell off after half a season, I didn't panic. I stayed pretty much in the middle. You make a very good point here that this is really based. He played 13 games last year, but this is really based on 8 or 9 really big games. He got hurt towards the end of that. Things started to tail off. Then he really got hurt. But this is a big investment based on 8 or 9 games in the system by the Colts. It is a big moment for them. So I think the dollars are a little head-scratching, even though I love everything about Shane Steichen, Daniel Jones, and the Colts together.
And this is, I think, a very critical next couple of years for Chris Ballard. Chris Ballard has been in Indianapolis
Who's he
for
got naked pictures
what,
of?
a decade?
How does he still all the time? Like, what does Chris Ballard got? The guy never makes playoffs and always keeps his job. Go ahead. Sorry, had to nail it.
The Texans, the Jags, and the Titans have all won the division at least twice since Chris Ballard has taken over as general manager, and he hasn't won it a single time. Like, I don't know what kind of blackmail he has on somebody, but he has swung and missed so many times. They have fallen so short of expectations so many times, yet Chris Ballard remains. So, I mean, I would put the heat on Chris Ballard. I would have put the heat on Chris Ballard a long time ago. But I think these next 2 years are critical. And when you tie up $88 million at least into a quarterback, like, you have to have something to show for it. So that's a critical year for Chris Ballard. But I will say the same thing about the Colts and Daniel Jones that I will about the Vikings and Kyler Murray is I don't like this. I don't think that Daniel Jones is going to be the key that pushes you over the edge. Prove me wrong. Would love to be proven wrong. But what was their other option? When you trade 2 first-round picks for a corner at the trade deadline because you believe that you're in a Super Bowl window and you want to capitalize on that, your secondary was the most vulnerable position on your team, then you kind of put yourself into a corner at the quarterback position. Because you don't trade 2 first-round picks if you have any interest in getting in on the quarterback sweepstakes over the next couple of years. So you don't have a first-round pick. The quarterback free agent market is barren. I mean, your options are Kyler Murray and Marcus Mariota. Like, they didn't have another option. But that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it right. The Colts and Chris Ballard put the Colts in this situation. So now they're forced to overpay for Daniel Jones because they don't have another option.
Yeah, you're right. And this is what happens when you have to have a short-term, long-term plan at the quarterback position. I think you and I are becoming more and more convinced about that on this show. Like, and look, you don't have it until you have it. If we're being honest for a second, everybody freaked out about the Falcons when they signed Kirk Cousins and then drafted Michael Penix. It was the dumbest thing ever. And then early on when it looked like it worked, it was the smartest thing ever. And now that it's all imploded, it's the dumbest thing ever, right? So, you know, as you referenced yesterday, and Mike Tyson said that everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Everybody has a plan at the quarterback position until suddenly they wake up and don't have a plan. But I do think this has to be a statement about what the Colts see and saw behind the scenes in practice every day. One thing that we do in the media in general and as fans, we take Sundays and we make Sundays the living, breathing, eating proof of everything about a player. I think oftentimes contracts are more a reminder of what happens from Monday to Saturday in the NFL. What do they see behind the scenes that we don't see? This obviously has, for them to invest $88 million, it has to be some sort of a statement in my mind that this is somebody they believe truly can be their future. It's a little hedged. But I think it has to be some sort of a statement that he can and will be that they can bank on him in the future. Real quick, do need to make sure that we get everybody caught up on Kirk Cousins. It looks like Kirk Cousins is going to be signing somewhere, but I will caution everybody, Kirk Cousins will require some patience. I think he's going to end up with the Raiders. That's just my predictive market here. I think Kirk Cousins is going to end up with the Raiders, but as been made clear to people I've talked to around the league, he's going to be patient and wait and see what comes up, because right now we don't know for sure, even though we think we know. We don't know that Aaron Rodgers is going to end up in Pittsburgh. We don't know for sure that Kyler Murray gets it worked out in Minnesota. So I don't think there's a rush for Kirk Cousins to make this decision. But I do think, Caroline, when it's all said and done, Kirk Cousins ends up becoming the bridge quarterback that mentors Fernando Mendoza in his rookie season.
Kirk Cousins shouldn't rush. I talked to him at the Super Bowl and asked him about his future. And he said, yeah, I'm coming back. I still have that itch to compete. I still want to be right in the middle of the grind. He still wants to be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. So if you're Kirk Cousins, you know that you're walking into Vegas as the bridge quarterback, the mentor, the backup at some point, perhaps. And I'm sure Kirk Cousins, if it comes to that Kirk Cousins is fine with that. But if he knows that there's an option, even just a teeny tiny little inch of possibility, that Kirk Cousins could be the guy, the starter anywhere in the NFL this year, He's going to take that, and he should take that. I don't blame him for that. But if he does end up in Vegas, oh, I love that. I love slow cooking a young quarterback. I love a young quarterback getting the opportunity to sit and learn and be a sponge and learn by osmosis from a quarterback that has played a lot of football and has won a lot of football in this league. And I would also love that adorable, sweet, sweet, sweet little personality pairing.
It would be the nicest quarterback
They're
room
so
in the
cute.
world. That'd be a fiery room. I think he ends up in Vegas. I hope he ends up in Minnesota where he can start and help the Vikings win a bunch of football games. Also, I hope we can break it all down with Frank Schwab, our legendary quarterback, coming into the room next. Frank going to give us his thoughts. He had some great takes on the Raiders and Ravens. We'll let you hear some of them coming up next.
What is the process as a receiver winning against zone coverage? Is it more settling down? Is it finding holes? Walk us through the process there.
So like the first thing that you want to look at is those safeties, right? So then you just look at your triangles. So I go safeties to nickel backer or nickel or backer and then out to that corner, is it going to be cover 2? Are they showing 3 right now because they're going to roll into 2? Are those safeties low? Just seeing those subtleties are really what makes you a really good zone player.
You don't want to get ahead of yourself when you think that he's going to come and be a game changer. He's more of a managerial type that can operate at a high level. I've made the comparison to Jared Goff in terms of how he'll play the game within the right system. The best thing that has happened to Fernando Mendoza is Clint Kubiak bringing his system to the Las Vegas Raiders. And when surrounded by the right talent, he can have a lot of success.
We got the announcement that Floyd Mayweather will be taking on Manny Pacquiao in a rematch. People will watch, people will tune in, and I'm curious to see how it looks. I think they're going to be around the same skill level if they both come in healthy. And I really think it is significant that Floyd Mayweather is putting the L on the line.
100%. How do you make the competitive balance the most even? I think Manny and Floyd at this stages in their life, that makes it fair and exciting. So I'm in on Mayweather Pacquiao too.
A little Saban for us because everybody loves Saban. So, give us your thoughts.
I knew that you were going to bring me in here and have me do Nick Saban for him.
Have you done Saban for Saban?
No, but I've met him.
Okay.
And he didn't know that it was me. And he shook my hand, and I said, Coach, Joey Molinaro, so good to finally meet you, as if he would know who I was. And he just looked at me and goes, yeah, well, all right. Walked away.
After consultation with multiple top medical professionals, it became clear that this decision is in the best interest of both the franchise and Maxx Crosby. Was that the Ravens today? Nope. Let's look at winners and losers from Frank Schwab. I got to give Frank a lot of credit. He comes on with us all the time, and I rarely give him credit, although I love him like a brother. I usually like to jab him as much as possible. Your discussion yesterday on Inside Coverage with Jory and Andrew Siciliano was nuanced and brilliant on this. And I think what really stood out to me is that just for a moment, we shut down all of the yelling and the conspiracy theories. And you just looked, Frank, at, hey, there's a real possible fact here that, hey, they just came together and they looked at it and it didn't work out. Frank, give everybody just your sense, now that the dust has settled, on how we got here and what it actually means.
Yeah, and I just think that it's one of those where we jump to the conspiracy theory right away. But I think me and Andrew and Jory were talking about on Inside Coverage yesterday was, I need a motive. Conspiracy theories are fun, I get that, but I need a motive. You're telling me Eric DaCosta, one of the better general managers in the NFL, made a trade on Friday, and then by Tuesday he's like, I actually don't like Maxx Crosby. What? That doesn't make any sense. He's a grown up. He's not an idiot. He knows who he's trading for and what he's trading for that player. And people are also acting like Trey Hendrickson became a free agent like Tuesday at noon. No, we've known that Trey Hendrickson's going to be a free agent. We knew roughly what his market was. It dropped a little bit, but not to the point where, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. Ballpark, he got probably what he was going to get, $112 million. So what's the motive? What is the motive for this whole they just hit him in the back with a steel chair and now all of a sudden, no, I knew you'd love that, Fitz. I just don't get why people think that the Ravens just changed their mind. They didn't change their mind. The only thing that changed between the Friday trade and them nixing the trade on Tuesday night was the medicals. And look, teams have different ways to look at physicals and how they pass the guy. And the Ravens are on the conservative side of this. And I think they just looked at Maxx and said, we don't know if we're getting 4 years out of you. And this is a 3-4, whatever it is. And it's not worth our risk tolerance right now. And I think that's why they backed out. Now, did some chicanery happen of like Eric DaCosta getting on the phone to Trey Hendrickson's agent saying, we're not really comfortable with Maxx. Is Trey still available? And what's the price? Did the timeline match up that way? Maybe. But I don't think it's as simple as the Ravens waking up on Tuesday morning and saying, we don't like Maxx Crosby after all. That's insane. It makes no logical sense to me.
So I disagree. I am the one that's been wearing the tinfoil hat about some nefarious behind-the-scenes activity with Eric DaCosta. You say the only thing that's changed is the medicals. I disagree. I think the second thing that changed was Trey Hendrickson's price. I think that Trey Hendrickson's price on Friday was far too rich for the Ravens' blood, that they say, we're not going to pay $40 million for a 32-year-old pass rusher that's coming off of an injured season. Trey Hendrickson's price on Friday was probably what? Probably 40 million Myles Garrett money. On Monday, but okay, fine. We'll be in the 35 to $40 million range. Once Tuesday rolls around, he's like, please, someone just sign me. I'll go to a contender for a cheaper price. So the Ravens are looking around like, oh, we can get Trey Hendrickson for the exact same amount of money that we'll be paying for Maxx Crosby, and we can get our 2 first-round picks back. I'll take that. And while it is a little bit sketchy from Eric DaCosta, if that is what happened, if my conspiracy theory is correct, I think the Ravens are better off. Eric DaCosta did do the best thing for his team.
He did, actually. Yeah, if you look, and by the way, Caroline, I need a Caroline Fenton Fat Joe drop of yesterday's price is not today's price.
It's not today's price.
Let's go.
I need you to send that. I need you to send that to me, Caroline. But you're not wrong. But I don't think, look, 40 million was never going to happen. I think everybody knew that. So I don't think the Ravens overshot that much on how his market was. I think it came down a little bit, but we're talking about a few million here and there. I don't take the Ravens completely at their word, because we never should take any NFL team completely at their word. They do not tell the truth. Like, that's just the business they're in. So, but I do, in the basic sense of they wanted Maxx Crosby. Of course they wanted Maxx Crosby. Maxx Crosby is a great, great player. Like, why wouldn't you want him? I just don't think that changed. Maybe the price, you're right, the price probably changed a little bit, but I don't think it's at a point where they just did this U-turn. I don't buy it as much as everybody else does. And you're right. Like, if you look, if I'm presenting something to you and saying, which package is better, which would you pick? Maxx Crosby or Trey Hendrickson and 2 first-round picks? You'd say Trey Hendrickson and 2 first-round picks, dummy. What are you talking about? Of course. So the Ravens did end up at the best place they could have. And I don't think the Raiders ended up in a bad place either. And, like, by the way, Fitz, as I've been writing the last couple of days, and they're not giving any pity to the Raiders, I worried about our friendship. I really did. I worried that you wouldn't even let me on the show today. But the Raiders are nobody's victim. As you pointed out, I tweeted about it with winners and losers. I led with winners and losers. The Raiders used this exact same injury excuse last December to tank. Okay? They're nobody's victim here. They went out and said, Max, we think your knee's so bad you can't play anymore against the Giants, wink, wink. And Max said, what are you talking about? And stormed out of the building. Tanking is worse than failing a guy in his physical. Because as I said in Inside Coverage yesterday, I watch a lot of NBA. Tanking's one of the worst things that could happen to a sport.
But look, I don't disagree with you on some of that principle, but let me push back gently on this. A couple of things. Number one,
gently.
The Raiders
you never
said
push
that
back gently.
Knee,
what are we talking about?
The Raiders said that knee is so bad you need to be shut down, and Max and his team said, "Nuh-uh, I'm fine. I can play." It was a full meniscus reconstruction that is now going to have him out all the way until possibly the beginning of the season, which, by the way, proves that the Raiders were right. Like, Max is like, no, I can play a couple of games. He may not even be ready for week 1 right now as part of this physical. We're finding out probably not going to be ready for training camp. Like, that to me says, like, for all of the, I can't believe they shut him down so they could tank. Their team doctor said, no, we need to get this knee fixed. Max said no. Who was right? The medical seems to prove that the Raiders didn't weirdly shut Max down. The medical seemed to prove that Max was being stubborn and didn't want to be shut down.
Right. And the medical also proves the Ravens' point that we're not really comfortable with this. It's worse than we thought. Like, it's one of two. It's either
you're right.
The Raiders were involved in chicanery to tank, And if that's not true, and this knee was really as bad as and you're right, it's a major surgery, then the Ravens were right on Tuesday to call off the trade. Like, one of the two has to be true. It can't be that the Raiders said in December, oh, this knee is so bad, and then you come back in March and say, no, the knee's fine. What are you talking about? Like, it's got to be one or the other. Come on.
I do think, weirdly, before we move on, I'll say this one other thing. I think, weirdly, both teams won and lost. Because if the Ravens are trying to win a Super Bowl right now, I think they are much better with Maxx Crosby. Maxx Crosby is a much better player than Trey Hendrickson, and it isn't even close. So if they're trying to win a Super Bowl over the next 2 years, they'd be better with Max. If they're trying to make sure that they're balanced for whatever's going to happen long term, then they're better to have the two first picks. Like that makes absolute sense. For the Raiders, if you tell me that they spend $200 and something million in free agency, and on the last day of free agency, they managed to get one of the best defensive players of the last decade, they're better because of it. But they could also, if we're taking the argument, hey, long term, they could use those picks. They would probably need those picks as well. Like, both teams weirdly won and lost in this transaction. That's why, like, I'm just not as edgy about it as so many people. I kind of look at it and say, hey, I like my favorite football team having Maxx Crosby more than I like them not having Maxx Crosby. I think he's going to make them better this year. So I'm not that worried about it.
Yeah, it's
Good
a great
use
take. I
of the
like
word
that.
edgy.
It's very
And
good. I'm sorry
as we're
about that.
talking about edge rushers, but before we move on, while we're calling everybody cheaters and liars around here, can we all agree that when Eric DeCosta said, "Well, we were considering keeping Maxx Crosby and signing Trey Hendrickson and having both pass rushers,"
I don't know.
that was a crock
I
of
don't know about
baloney,
that.
right?
I will say, look, I will say, hold on. I will say this. I'm sure they budgeted so much money for Linderbaum. And once he signed for $80 bazillion with the Raiders, they said, what are we going to do with this money? Well, Trey is the best free agent available. Like, let's see. Let's just call it and see what the price is. As we heard, yesterday's price is not today's price, but
Don't you forget it. But that was not the only move made in free agency. What other move stands out to you, Frank, as like a absolute home run? That was a great move, kind of move.
And I've been talking about the Rams because I looked and the Rams came into free agency without many boxes to check. So that made it easier for Les Snead and them, right? Like the Raiders, the Titans, the Jets, whoever you want to say, the Dolphins, they all came in saying, oh my goodness, we need these 7 positions. What are we going to do? The Rams came in and looked at free agency and said, we got one position to fill. And if we do well at cornerback, we're going to have this unbelievable roster. And Les Snead, to his credit, said, okay, screw them picks. Once again, traded the first, next year's third, to the Kansas City Chiefs for Trent McDuffie. This draft is not good. The 29th pick of this draft will not be as good as Trent McDuffie. I feel pretty confident saying that, okay? So they add Trent McDuffie, to me, a top 10 cornerback in this league. They go out and they sign Jalen Watson. After that, you go from having one of the weakest cornerback rooms in the NFL to one of the stronger ones. I love what the Rams did. The Rams went from, okay, yeah, you can come back and contend for a Super Bowl. You're one of a few teams. To me right now, the Rams are the favorite in the NFL. I think that they have the best roster. Sorry, Seattle. You had a great year. Don't get me wrong. But I think the Rams right now have the best roster in the NFL. I really love what they did. I know it was easier when you only got to say, all right, let's get 2 cornerbacks and call it a day. But they did it. They got the job done that they needed to do.
So what's the flip side? Give me a move or a team that you looked at and you thought, yeah, I don't like this at all.
And it's, to me, I did talk about this on Inside Coverage yesterday. So, anybody who listens to both shows is going to hear me repeat myself. But is Sean Payton awake? Did he sleep through the beginning of free agency? Like, I don't know what the Broncos are doing because, as you guys know, obviously I'm based out here in Colorado. So a lot of Broncos talk around here. And Russell Wilson was coming off the books. And Sean Payton spends, you go back and look at the Saints. We all know the history of the Saints in free agency. They spend and spend and spend like there's no tomorrow. And these cap problems are tomorrow Sean Payton's problems, right? Like, so I came into free agency saying the Broncos went 14-3, came painfully close to a Super Bowl. If a blizzard didn't happen, I think they make a Super Bowl. They're going to just spend like crazy. They're going to go get Travis Etienne. They might get a number 1 receiver. They might get help elsewhere. And it was just nothing out here. It was a lot of tumbleweeds. They're enjoying the moderately warm weather in Colorado we've been having. I don't know what the Broncos are doing. They had so much cap flexibility. They had a coach, a leader. He runs that roster, as we know, who loves to spend in free agency, and they did nothing. And I'm not saying they can't do something. Maybe they're waiting on A.J. Brown. Maybe whatever. We're going to see what happens with the Broncos. But right now, as we sit here Thursday, sorry, it's been a long week already. This week has been a long month. As we sit here on Thursday, they still haven't done anything to upgrade their roster. And that really, really surprised me.
I'm with you. There's been a lot of stagnant teams that I'm wondering, like, it's like that meme that's just like, do something and just poking it with a stick.
Yeah,
like, do something.
poking
Wake
Sean
up.
Payton. I think
do
I wonder
something.
Sean Payton's at his desk. He's out. Like Sean, wake up. We missed out on Travis Etienne. We missed out on Kenneth Walker.
Sean's in
Wake up.
Cabo. He could not be bothered. He's hanging out on the beach. We looked at some quarterback movement. Frankly, a lot of them made me raise an eyebrow. We're hearing Kyler Murray rumored to the Vikings. He's going to visit them today.
Ugh.
We have Tua going to the Falcons. We have Malik Willis going to the Dolphins.
I don't mind that.
Your thoughts on those three moves?
I'm impressed with the Dolphins actually to carry a $99 million cap hit and get Malik Willis on a pretty reasonable deal. I get it. That's a lot of money. $67.5 million for 6 NFL starts is a lot of money. But when you look at this quarterback market, the Jets just traded for Geno Smith. All right. Like the Steelers are praying 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers comes back. This quarterback market stunk. It was terrible. The Falcons and probably the Vikings are going to take on 2 players who their former team said, we will pay a fortune just to get you out of the building. Get out, Tua. Get out, Kyler. We don't want to see you around. And we don't care if it's a $99 million cap hit. Get out. So I like what the Dolphins did with Malik Willis. And I don't think if Malik Willis is just not good, I don't think they're stuck. I think they can move on pretty easily after a year or two. So I like what they did there. The rest of it is just ugly. Like the rest of it is just dribbling out the clock for the 2027 draft. And that stinks for those teams and their fans. But I think they understand, like the Arizona Cardinals, like people are talking about like maybe Kirk Cousins to the Cardinals. Like, what does that accomplish really? Like, I don't see it. Just put the Jacoby Brissett out there. Try to tank for Arch Manning, whatever. Like, that's what the Jets are doing. Geno Smith, like, what are we doing here? The Browns are another team that just did nothing because I think everybody's just like, whatever. We didn't get Malik Willis. Let's just jump into the 2027 draft with both feet. So I get it, but at the same time, there's going to be some ugly quarterback situations week 1.
Real quick, before we let you go, I know we've already kept you long. Are you surprised that the Patriots have been so quiet?
Not really. And I think they did okay. I think that to get Elijah Vera Tucker was a good move for them because it's one of those high upside moves that I like. Like, hey, if this works out, you got a Pro Bowl lineman. All of a sudden your line really calms down a little bit. But yeah, the Patriots did have a lot of cap space coming into free agency, but I think they're pretty happy with their roster. I think they're like, all right, we're doing all right. To go get Romeo Doubs to replace Stephon Diggs, who, by the way, I'm sure they're happy to be rid of that headache. And you don't upgrade maybe at receiver, but you probably upgrade off the field. Let's put it that way. So to go get Romeo Doubs, to go get Elijah Vera Tucker, I think they've done okay. I think the Patriots, I didn't expect some spending spree like last year. So I think the Patriots have done just fine. It's tough because we're sitting here a couple days into free agency and some of the smartest teams in the league, Philly, Jacksonville, Green Bay hasn't done much. Denver hasn't done much. Some of the best teams are like, nah, these prices are completely out of control. So I kind of give passes to teams that haven't done too much yet.
Guys, go check out Inside Coverage. Check it out all the time. They're doing great work. Yesterday's episode, particularly impressive. Go check it out. And then obviously follow him, Company Man, at Yahoo Schwab. Follow him on social media. Frank, always appreciate you, buddy. Even when you say mean things about my favorite team, I'm just going to make a longer hug next time. Love you, buddy.
Yeah,
appreciate you. Thanks for the insight, hanging out with us.
Still love you, Fitz. And Caroline, too. Don't forget the Fat Joe drop. I want that sent to me sometime.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
You got to work
Get
on
it
that.
tattooed.
We're getting there. We're getting close.
I'll get a little bit
Fat
more,
Joe Pete. We're going to do the whole
next
thing like
time.
Fat Joe karaoke next time for Caroline. Thanks, Frank. All right, coming up next, from
Thanks,
negotiating in the NFL to negotiating in the WNBA, it's going, it's hard, and it's not yet resolved. What's it mean? We'll tell you next.
Criticism like that from a coach in the moment. How are you feeling when that's happening and the film's on screen?
Yeah, man, I think it's you listen more to the message and not the tone of the message. I mean, I think it's actually better to get called out than to not, because it shows not only like you're not worried about getting your feelings hurt. Like, they're not worried about hurting my feelings. And that's something I love about our coach. Like, he's not really worried about hurting your feelings. He's going to tell you, shoot it to you straight. And for me, like, I've always thrived under coaches that do that.
We are ranking the biggest robberies in MLS histories, the players who looked at their team owners and said, thanks for the cash and gave absolutely nothing in return. If your team is on this list, we are very, very sorry. Danielson, FC Dallas. His contract was for $879,000.
If you're watching this, look at his photo. He don't even look interested to be there in the photo.
With 10 appearances, he effectively got nearly $100,000 per game.
I'm sitting there watching Unreal, and they're talking about you in WWE at the Royal Rumble, just being thrown into the ring. You ever getting back in the ring for one of those opportunities again after that injury?
Man, I don't know. I mean, we got WrestleMania coming up, so you maybe see me in there, you maybe not. I'm just not trying to get beat up, but we'll see. We'll see. Like I got beat up too much times. My body can't take that anymore.
Little teaser from the one and only Nate Diaz, unfinished business. And then he expanded on that on Twitter and said, I'll see you soon. I'm coming.
What about Dustin? Dustin versus Nate. Big fight. That could be a co-main or a main for a big fight card.
One that we always wanted to see.
One that Dustin has said, that'll get me out of retirement. The UFC could use him more than ever. They need stars now.
Marathon negotiations have been the story between the WNBA and the WNBPA for the last several days as they continue to work towards a resolution. You see it there. League Commissioner Kathy Engelbert saying it's complex. We're working towards a win-win deal like we've been saying. We're getting reports every day. Everybody is finally sitting down. The March 10th deadline, the self-imposed deadline from the WNBA has obviously passed. We've heard nothing really about what that means, because they've been finally locked in a room. Caroline, I will never understand why it takes getting to a deadline to get everybody to sit at a conference table and get this done. But it has at least been a couple of days of marathon negotiations, which has me for the first time feeling at least better that maybe we're getting inches closer to an actual resolution here.
And that is what we've heard, at least. And Annie Costable from Front Office Sports has been wonderful in all of her reporting. We had her on the show a couple of weeks ago. Check out our sit down with her. Obviously, a lot has changed since then, but check out our sit down with her on the Yahoo Sports YouTube page. But she reported that Nneka Ogwumike, who is the president of the WNBPA, said, quote, "We're feeling movement." So that's optimistic. You want to feel that movement. And Caitlin Clark and Brianna Stewart at USA basketball practices over the weekend said, why don't we just sit down in a boardroom, talk to each other face to face, and shake hands? That's how every other business deal gets done. And yeah, why have we been talking through back channels and through the media for the last 6 months? Why didn't everyone just get face to face and just lay things out? Have a personal human connection and human understanding of where both sides are coming from. So I think there's two ways to look at it. That one, there's the glass half full approach. When you hear Nneka, when you saying that we're feeling movement, when you have 12-hour days of negotiations and going back and forth and proposals that have been exchanged back and forth, that's movement. That's good. But it's also March 12th. We also have over 100 free agents in the league. Pretty much every big star who's not on a rookie contract is a free agent. We have an expansion draft for 2 new expansion teams. We have a collegiate draft. And oh yeah, by the way, we have March Madness. And oh yeah, by the way, there's training camps. And oh yeah, by the way, the CBA has to be ratified once it gets agreed to. You don't just sign the dotted line on a CBA, snap your fingers, and now all of a sudden all the rules are changed and everything is all fine and dandy in WNBA land. These things take time. So while yes, it's a positive thing, and it is far better than the alternative, that we are getting movement. I think we're all feeling the pressure. The players are feeling the pressure. Kathy Engelbert is feeling the pressure. Me, as a fan and as someone who covers the league, is feeling the pressure that while movement is a good thing, while these in-person meetings are a good thing, we're going to have to get something finalized soon, or else we're going to have a truncated season, and I think that'll be dire for the league.
And that's nobody's fault but everybody involved. I'll continue to say this. Look, I doubt that they created a self-imposed March 10th deadline without some wiggle room, right? These are all negotiation tactics. It just shouldn't require negotiation tactics. At some point, we know what they need to do. They need to get a deal done. And I abhor the fact that we have to set a deadline for everybody to get in the room and then have these marathon sessions. Could have been done in January. Could have been done in February, and instead, now it's being done in March. So I will just remind everybody involved, from the players to the teams, that if this does cost everybody games, that's nobody's fault but the players and the teams. They chose, in like every negotiation, to wait till the last second. And what really frustrates me is hearing all of the quotes that are coming out now, whether they be from Kathy Engelbert, who says, this is a really transcendent deal we'd like to get done, or the players that are saying, we want to play. They say they want to play too, and, we just need to keep seeing it. You see there, Engelbert called this deal on the table transformational. I guess my question, Kathy, is why did it take this to get to a transformational deal? Why did it take missing the deadline and put everybody at a table to finally get transformational? Like, we all knew that it was going to have to take uncomfortable negotiations. I just hate the fact, and this isn't just to the WNBA and the WNBPA. Major League Baseball is going to do the same thing in a year. Every sport does this. Every collective, I've been a part of unions in my life. Collective bargaining always works this way, and I hate it because the real damage that is done to the sport. It's done to the athletes. It's done to the fans. It's done to the growth. It's done to the monetization. It's done to the reputation. The damage that comes, the collateral damage from waiting so long on these things. That's what's transformational, because it actually changes the way people see everything about sports they love.
Well, and the issue that I have with that is any of these deals would have been transformational. The fact that the W had on the table like real legitimate revenue share, that's transformational. That's a massive upgrade from what they have now. And from Annie Costable's reporting, she said the average base salary, there it is. Great job, production team. $516,000 to $570,000 would be an average base salary. Now, of course, there's some wiggle room with that, with some supermax contracts and max contracts that won't leave more room for the rest of the salary cap. So, there's some wiggle room there. But the fact that an average base salary could be anywhere around $500,000, that's transformational. That's crazy. That's a massive increase. Understanding that Caitlin Clark's salary right now is $70,000. So that is a massive leap that we see it right here. The salary cap in the latest proposal is $6.2 million. The salary cap right now is 1.5. These are transformational numbers, whether it's gross revenue or net revenue or whatever the revenue split ends up being. Of course, that we know that there's some disagreements on gross versus net revenue. The league's pushing for net, the players are pushing for gross. Any of that kind of revenue share is transformational. So I think one thing that where we're at right now is we all have to understand whatever numbers the WNBA and the WNBPA agree on will be a massive, massive upgrade for the league that can always be renegotiated in whatever terms that they agree to. I believe the last proposal said that the existing CBA would be an 8-year CBA with the option to get out after 7. So if you're the players and you're like, look, we want a certain number, we're not going to reach that number, but we'll take that because it's already a massive upgrade and we'll renegotiate it 7 years from now when we're betting on ourselves and betting on the league not only maintaining this certain level of success, but growing upon this certain level of success. Is it exactly what you signed up for when you got into these negotiations? Of course not. But that's not how negotiations are. You don't always get what you want, but did you get more than what you had? That's the question. And that's where we're at right now with the players. Yes, absolutely. They will be.
Yeah, my entertainment attorney used to always say, if everybody walks away from the table mad, you probably got a good deal. I think there's some truth to that. Yeah. Everybody has to understand there's compromise involved. And Major League Baseball needs to be watching every single step of this, because this season is going to be there's a cloud over this entire season because of what we anticipate is coming next year. And however ugly this has gotten right now, is nothing compared to what I think we're about to see from Major League Baseball. So I do think it's important that MLB spend some time watching the reaction, the process, everything that's gone into this, the posturing, the conjecture, all of the things that have led us to where we are today, especially if games are lost to the WNBA and the consequence of that. This is an important eye-opening moment that I do believe the Major League Baseball players and owners should be focused on to see what kind of clapback, what kind of repercussions there are, what are the actual residual effects of the possibility even of a lockout, Caroline, because if we're going to spend the entire Major League Baseball season talking about what we're not getting next year, then MLB needs to be watching the reaction to that to understand the blowback they could be getting for their own sport based on what we're seeing right now for the WNBA.
My only pushback to that is, and it's fair to make the parallel between Major League Baseball and the WNBA because they're both going through very public negotiations right now, very public conversations. But Major League Baseball has the privilege of money that the WNBA doesn't have. That really any given player in Major League Baseball is more than likely going to be financially comfortable enough to go through these negotiations and play some hardball. That's not the case in the W. Baseball owners don't need a season. They're gonna be fine. The billionaires are going to be okay. The billionaires are in a position that they can say, oh, you want this and we don't want to give it to you? Fine. Lockout. We're not having a season. The WNBA can't afford that. And while I don't think that Major League Baseball, just in terms of popularity in the court of public opinion, can afford that either, I think there's the illusion that they can that doesn't exist in a certain sense of urgency that has to exist in the W.
I think one thing that Major League Baseball has lost on in comparison to all of this, because Major League Baseball certainly had their fair share of strikes and lockouts. They had a lockout back in 21-22, but that ended in March, right? They had a strike, as you well know, all the way back in 1994. You know what exists now that didn't exist in 1994? Social media. And something that everybody has to prepare for is that social media gives every single fan and bot in the world a voice, and those voices get loud, and those voices get angry. I think what leagues, what players forget is in the modern construct, right or wrong, there's going to be amplification of voices all over the place saying you get paid a king's ransom to play a child's game. Whether that's the right logic or not, that is just going to be part of the narrative. And as much as I hear baseball fans say, hey, we survived 94, 95, and the sport came back stronger than ever. Twitter didn't exist in 94, 95. Yeah, 100%. It took a lot of things to get it back, and Twitter didn't exist in 94, 95. You start losing games, I don't think leagues understand the catastrophic effect and the damage that will be done in the minds of all the fans because of social media now compared to when we've seen games lost in the past. Hopefully the W doesn't have to lose those games and gets it figured out. We'll keep you updated. In the meantime, from talking about women's basketball to talking about men's, with the college tournament right around the corner, Joakim Noah is going to join us. We'll figure out what it takes to go back-to-back from somebody that's done it before.
Well, one of the things, too, that keeps coming up, I keep hearing, and it kept coming up in response to my story after the hearing and during the hearing, is, hey, why doesn't he just go pro? Imagine being a college kid and making $5 million plus.
It's pretty easy. It's just money, guys. It's guaranteed money. This is probably, for most of these individuals, the last time they can make this much money playing the sport.
How can I sit here in one breath and say the sport is broken when it looks like the audience is more pleased with the sport than ever?
It's not broke. It's just we've been drinking out of a fire hose for 3 years. But it can't just be pay them, kick them off the team, next guy, next team. I worry about these kids' long-term health and what they're going to do with their lives when they're 26 and 27, when they have no roots at any university.
James Rodriguez is reportedly joining Minnesota United. The main thing, as a fan of the league, I would just be excited to see him play. And then Minnesota against NYCFC, get to go see James. And what if that game is at Citi Field, bro? Queens is going to lose their mind.
It's going to go nuts. Astoria and Jackson Heights will be empty. There will be 3 Uruguayans, 4 Argentinians, and 6 Mexicans, and all of Jackson Heights going, what the hell's going on? Where is everybody?
Admittedly, I'm a huge fan of Travis Hunter as a prospect. Do you have any sense of what his growth is going to be like, where he might be playing more and more, what his role is going to look like, especially on the offensive side?
The way he is, his personality, I think this injury in his rookie year is only going to just make him better. He was starting to really get going on offense, and we were starting to click. So who knows what the rep count looks like, but I know he's a special receiver when he gets the ball in his hands.
Winning back-to-back national titles in college basketball is a huge accomplishment. We saw Hurley and UConn pull it off a few years ago. It is rare. We have another real chance to see it with Todd Golden and the Florida Gators. Before UConn, we've only seen 3 teams do it in the last 50 years. We're joined now by one of the stars from a Florida team that did that. 2-time national champion, 2006 Final Four, most outstanding player. Joakim Noah joins us here on behalf of BetterHelp. We'll get to BetterHelp in a minute. I love that you're doing this. We'll talk about that. But let's talk some basketball here. What do you see that from this Todd Golden squad that maybe reminds you of your journey to back-to-backs?
Well, those were definitely the best times of my life. First of all, thanks for having me. Thinking back on some of the most special times of my life, winning a couple of championships with my guys, Al Horford, Corey Brewer. Those was a really special team, a really special group of guys. And we grew up together. And, now that I'm a retired player, just the memories and the friendships are the most important things that you have looking back.
I mean, that was a special team, no doubt about it. And as Fitz said, Florida has the opportunity to do exactly what you did, win back-to-back national championships. So as somebody who did it, how does the second one differ from the first?
Well, the first one is like nobody really expected us to win. And the second one, the expectations were really high. So it was my first time really dealing with expectations on a really public level. The second one was definitely a lot tougher mentally. I was really drained. I didn't really know what to expect, but it was a great learning time for me, just dealing with that kind of pressure. I think it's something that definitely helped me when I went to the pros.
If you sat down and talked to the team right now, what advice would you give them on trying to go back-to-back?
I would tell the young guys just enjoy it as much as possible. This is a really, really special time. Obviously, the pressure's really high, but just enjoy. Don't let people start talking to you about what's happening next and what the next level is or going to the Sweet 16. You just got to focus on the task at hand. Coach Donovan used to tell us all the time, just live in the moment and enjoy the moment and take it over. And, you got to want this game to go on forever. So I think they definitely have that mindset. I love coming into the tournament. I feel like this team is ready. This team is hungry, and it's just going to be so fun to watch them in the tournament.
You mentioned Coach Donovan, Billy Donovan, an absolute legend of the game, the namesake of Florida's basketball court right now. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to meet Todd Golden, but maybe any interactions that you've had with him or just watching him and how he works on the sideline. How does Todd Golden remind you or maybe differ from your experiences with Billy Donovan?
Yeah, I think Coach Golden is definitely like a people's guy. I think the players really like him. I remember when he took the job, he came to Miami to come and see us, talk to us, pick our brain a little bit about what it means to wear that jersey and represent Florida Gators. So he's somebody who definitely respects the history and somebody who came in and just, took the Gators by storm, and I'm really proud of him and just the way he's leading this team to glory.
All right. So with that being said, something you said earlier was, just talking in general about living in the moment. How hard is that to do now for college kids in an NIL world where they're not just representing Florida, they're also out here being paid at this point? So how much does the change in college basketball change the ability to just live in the moment and have a college basketball experience?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I can only speak for my experience. We weren't getting paid at the time, unfortunately, but I think that something that I think is very unique to that time is everybody wants to talk. There is money involved now, and people want to talk to you about the next level and the pros, and and what's going to happen in a couple months, because it is a very important time. It's a very exciting time. But I think it's just very important to just realize that you only have one college experience, and just enjoying every single moment, playing in these big games, playing in front of your family. The world is watching, and being able to represent that jersey. It's a special time that you'll never forget. So make the best of it.
And look, after your Florida experience, you had a very long and very successful NBA career. But speaking of NIL, do you ever think about how much money you and your teammates could have made in college?
I try not to. I try not to. But I think that it's something that I'm actually really proud of. We won the first championship. Three of us had an opportunity to go to the NBA and be first round picks. And, we just love playing basketball with each other. And the chemistry that we had was unmatched. I never felt that again in my career. So the fact that we decided to come back, there was no NIL deal. We ended up coming back because we just loved hooping with each other, is something that a lot of people don't know about our group. And it's something that I couldn't be more proud of now, being 40 years old. Something that I couldn't be more proud of.
Well, and that's interesting to me because I feel like we've got some freshman phenoms in college basketball that we're just trying to move right out of college basketball straight into the league. What advice would you give some of those guys that are looking at it, trying to figure out when the right time is to jump?
I wouldn't give them any advice. This is the beauty of this time. I think that this is your decision, and it's nobody else's decision. And look at little Booze. Look at little Booze in the middle there. His dad was my teammate in Chicago, killing it. So love what Cam's doing, and it's just, I think this is a really special time for these freshmen. It's a special time for anybody who has a chance to go to the NBA. And look, this is a dream come true. This is what these kids have been dreaming since they started picking up a basketball, is playing pro basketball. But it's just understanding that this is a really special time, and don't let people talk to you about what's going to happen in the next level. That's just extra anxiety and extra pressure. You already have enough. Enjoy the tournament as much as possible and make a run. Hopefully not against the Florida Gators.
I mean, hey, you said you didn't have advice for them, but that's pretty darn good advice. Slow down and enjoy everything that you have ahead of you. You bring up the NCAA tournament. Obviously, tournament action starts very, very soon, but we have conference tournament action right now. You won the SEC tournament both years when you won the national championship game. How can your conference tournament be almost like a catalyst for you and your team? Or what can it do for your team as you embark on a much bigger goal of a path to a national championship?
Yeah, I think you want to play your best basketball at this time of year. So I think that winning that tournament definitely gives you confidence going into the tournament, the NCAA tournament. I mean, I think that's something that's really, really important. You just want to be playing your best basketball at the end of the year, and winning that SEC tournament is huge for your confidence.
All right, so when you're watching, because I always think it's great for like guys that played so much, how are you going to watch Florida in the NCAA tournament?
How am I going to watch it? I'm going to watch it right here on my TV, right outside.
Ooh. Where's our
you got
invite?
like a group text going? Like, are you texting your old friend, like your old teammates? You trash talking people? Like, what's the experience like?
Honestly, watching a game with Corey Brewer, it was one of the best things that happened this year. Even though the Gators lost, I think it was against UConn in MSG. That was the only game that I went to, but it was just so fun. Just like these are my best friends at the end of the day. So you want to just drink a couple beers, chill, watch the games, and just cheer on your team. This is a really special time, and I got to share those moments with my guys, and being able to be on the group thread and talking about the games. This is what brings us together. So our connection with the Gators. So it's something that's very special to me.
Also very special to you is go ahead, Caroline.
I love to hear that you all still have a very close relationship. Do you and your former teammates have any annual traditions?
Not really, to be honest. I think it's just look, it's more that thread is something that's really special to me. You know, it was a really, really special time of our year. We were all roommates for 3 years. And like you said, this is before any of us got paid. So it was really for the love of the game. I don't take those moments for granted. You know, Coach Donovan's pops just passed, unfortunately, a couple months ago. So it's just like more being able to, during those moments, be able to come together and remember the memories and when things like that happen, just being able to be together and cherish the memories.
It's beautiful listening to you talk about this. You're joining us on behalf of BetterHelp. Also incredible. Give everybody a little bit of information here. What are you guys doing with the NCAA tournament, and what can you tell us about it?
Unbelievable. I'm really happy to be able to partner with them. They're doing a lot of therapy and a lot of pep talks for these athletes who are dealing with a lot of pressure. And I couldn't be more proud to be a part of this group. You know, sometimes people just need a pep talk. They need some love. They just need a little a therapy. And I couldn't be happier to be a part of a group that's helping out these young men and women.
Anybody that can help these guys, men and women, figure out how to deal with the pressures that now come with what they're dealing with in life is a beautiful thing, man. We really appreciate your time, appreciate your spirit, appreciate your memories. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Enjoy the tournament from your seat. Your seat's better than our seats, but enjoy the tournament, my friend. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great stuff from him. In the meantime, we'll take a look at the Nuggets. Did they pick up the win that makes us believe? We'll tell you about it next.
What is the process as a receiver winning against zone coverage? Is it more settling down? Is it finding holes? Walk us through the process
Yeah,
there.
so like the first thing that you want to look at like is those safeties, right? So then you just look at your triangle. So I go safeties to nickel backer or nickel or backer and then out to that corner, you know, like is it going to be cover two? Like are they showing three right now because they're going to roll into two? Like are like those safeties low? Like just seeing like those subtleties are really what makes you a really good zone player.
You don't want to get ahead of yourself when you think that he's going to come and be a game changer. He's more of a managerial type that can operate at a high level. I've made the comparison to Jared Goff in terms of how he'll play the game within the right system. The best thing that has happened to Fernando Mendoza is Clint Kubiak bringing his system to the Las Vegas Raiders. And when surrounded by the right talent, he can have a lot of success.
We got the announcement that Floyd Mayweather will be taking on Manny Pacquiao in a rematch. People will watch, people will tune in, and I'm curious to see how it looks. Like, I think they're going to be around the same skill level if they both come in healthy, and I really think it is significant that Floyd Mayweather is putting the L on the line.
100%. How do you make the competitive balance the most even? I think Manny and Floyd at this stages in their life, that makes it fair and exciting. So I'm in on Mayweather Pacquiao too.
A little Saban for us because everybody loves Saban. So, give us your thoughts.
I knew that you were going to bring me in here and have me do Nick Saban for him.
Have you done Saban for Saban?
No, but I met him.
Okay.
And he didn't know that it was me. And he shook my hand, and I said, Coach, Joey Molinaro, so good to finally meet you, as if he would know who I was. And he just looked at me and goes, yeah, well, all right. Walked away.
What's up, Jason and Caroline? Here's what happened while you were sleeping in the NBA. Wednesday's nightcap featured two of the best teams in the Western Conference, the Denver Nuggets taking on the Houston Rockets, and fans probably expected this to be the game of the night. Unfortunately, it was far from it. Now, the game was pretty competitive up until halftime. The Nuggets went into the locker room up by 6, but once the third quarter started, the Denver Nuggets blew the doors off of this thing. I mean, Jokic did his standard thing, getting a triple-double. Jamal Murray provided an efficient 30 points. But this rout was really based off of the Houston Rockets' inability to make a shot. They shot 4 for 33 from 3. They shot 43% from the field and didn't play a lick of defense. That's why they got beaten 129-93. It wasn't close. And I think it just speaks to a larger problem with the Houston Rockets that if Kevin Durant is not going to give you something, like he only scored 11 points on Wednesday, who else is going to bring it to you? Who else is going to step up and provide the shot creation that you need against some of the best teams in the Western Conference? They just lost to the San Antonio Spurs by 20 points. And then you follow that up by getting beaten by the Denver Nuggets by 36. We have real questions here. And you got to wonder, is this Rockets team looking like a first-round exit? Back to you guys.
Caroline, I feel like I got bamboozled. I got the rug pulled out from under me because just yesterday, we were trying to figure out what to make of certain teams. And I came in and I said, you know what? The glass is half empty for the Rockets. I'm out on the Rockets. You talked me into it, and it was a really perfect argument of why the Rockets could make some noise. And then I watched last night, and I was like, man, we're overcomplicating this thing. Like, I don't think this was a statement about the Rockets. I think this was a statement that, like, right now, if we're going to do Tom Haverstow's sort of take on title tiers, there are 3 teams, maybe 4 teams that are in a title tier, like that are clearly title contenders, like Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Boston, and Denver. Like Denver's
the 4
sitting on that tier. And that's it. Like everybody else, cute, cool, fine, go have your fun. Last night, the Rockets reminded us they do not belong in the same conversation as teams like the Nuggets.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring up my argument yesterday because last night I learned that the Rockets' #1 priority is not winning a championship. It is making Caroline Fenton look like a fool, I tell you. Idiot. Like, I have learned, I tried to believe in this Houston team. I thought they could play defense, and Katie's a superstar. A superstar elevates everyone around him. Alperen Şengün is good for 20 points on any given night. Now, that is enough to make some noise in the postseason. Wrong. No. Because I felt like my takeaway from last night was, although I do very wholeheartedly believe, we all know Katie's a superstar in this league. Katie can elevate any team in the NBA. But also, I feel like this Rockets team almost absorbs as much positive energy as it does negative. They can play up to a certain level, but they'll also play down to a certain level. Like, I think what's so impressive about the Spurs, for example, any given night, anyone can step up and drop 25 plus. And they don't need every single little piece of that unit to drop 25 or 30 because any given night, anyone can step up. For the Rockets, however, if Katie's not hot, it's like the rest of this Rockets team is looking around and thinking, okay, well, what do we do? And I do want to give a lot of credit to the Nuggets defense, a team we haven't really talked much about Denver's defense because we didn't really had to. And I do think that when you shoot 4 of 33 from beyond the arc, 12% for those counting at home, part of that has to do with just an off shooting night for Houston, but you don't have that bad of an off shooting night without the help from defense, from good, solid defense that Denver played. So I do want to give credit where credit is due to Denver. And it's so funny, we heard Titus just kind of glazing over like, oh, your typical triple-double and an efficient 30 points from Jamal Murray. Like, yes, a triple-double from Jokic and 30 points from Jamal Murray. That's why the Denver Nuggets are in a title tier and why the Rockets aren't. Because we get consistently big performances from those two, from a Batman and Robin kind of duo in Denver that we don't get out of Houston.
Well, and you're right, by the way. Jamal was on with SVP late last night talking about this Nuggets team. And, SVP asked him, other than health, what's the thing that will catapult you guys to an NBA title? And Jamal said without hesitation, playing defense like we did tonight. Like, he's just like, there is no doubt that Denver has to commit defensively to be the best version of who they can be. I want to allow a little bit of nuance, though, on the other side of this conversation, because the Rockets having a first-round exit might sound jarring to some people. But I will remind the world that right now the Rockets are the 3 seed. Their record is 40-25. So if the playoffs started today, by virtue of tiebreakers, I'm not smart enough to understand, the Rockets would be the 3 seed, the Lakers would be the 4 seed. The 3 would take on the 6 seed. So I just told you the Rockets are 40-25, and that makes them the 3 seed. The 6 seed is Minnesota, who's 40-26. Like, half a game separates 3 versus 6. So when we talk about, oh my God, could the Rockets have a first-round exit out of the playoffs? That sounds jarring. when we allowed the entire context of the conversation to be, wow, the Rockets, the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves all have basically the same record. Those 4 teams are within half a game of each other. They could go in any order that we possibly see, depending on how the rest of the season goes. So now the question is, do I believe the Rockets beat the Lakers, the Nuggets, or the Timberwolves in a 7-game series? The Nuggets, no. The Timberwolves, no. The Lakers depends on if they can play any defense in this. So I don't think the statement that the Rockets could be headed to a first round out in this playoffs is as jarring as it sounds when you actually put the context of how the West is playing out around it.
It's almost like there's 2 separate tiers in the West, or at least of the teams that we'll see represented in the postseason. And it's San Antonio, Oklahoma City, Denver. That's the top tier. That's the elite tier. That's your title tier. And then you have this next tier of teams that are really fun, and they have such a good personality, and they're so sweet. But they're good. Like I think that the Lakers, the Timberwolves, the Rockets, they're all teams that can make one of those title tiers feel maybe a little uncomfortable in the span of a 7-game series. Like Lakers, Minnesota, Houston, all of those teams can win a couple of games against any of those teams in the title tier, but they're not good enough to contend with those top 3 teams in a 7-game series or in a 5-game series or whatever it might be. Like they're not beat them in the playoffs kind of, competitive. And I think that could pan out for a pretty exciting Western Conference postseason. But I think at this point in the season, on March 12th, these teams are separating themselves. They're showing us who they are. And last night we saw squarely Denver is in a wildly different tier than Houston is. And I don't think that the result is drastically different in a 5-game series.
You're right. And I also, it's here for a good time, here for a long time. There are plenty of teams in the West that are going to be a good time, but not a long time. And that's okay. I don't think it's a shocking state. Like, again, it feels shocking when you say first-round exit. I don't think the real shocking take here is that San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and Denver are just flat out better than the rest of the West. No different than I look at the East. I personally put the Celtics in a tier of their own if they're healthy, but even if you want to include the Pistons, after that, there's a big drop-off to me to the rest. So when we're talking about the West, I think what the Nuggets reminded us last night is that we obviously OKC's the defending champion, so they get a ton of shine out of this. San Antonio has become the new darling. We've loved them since day one of this season. We spent the first week of this show, I think, talking about Wemby and why he was going to be the future MVP and face of the league, right? Everybody loves San Antonio. They're new. The weird part about the Nuggets is that they've been sustainably good for long enough that we just don't care right now. And that's the weird part. Like, I'm not sure we cared enough when the Nuggets won championships. I am 100% sure we're not giving the Nuggets now nearly enough credit for what they're capable of. If you talk about a 5 or 7 game series between Denver and any of these teams, I just feel like we have to remember that in that matchup over and over and over again, Jokic is just a nightmare. Jokic is a night, and there are certain teams that I do hold to a different regular season standard. If you're the Nuggets, you've been through so much playoff basketball. You've won a couple of your own titles. You know what this whole process is like. You know when to put weight on the gas pedal and when to throttle it back. I feel like the Nuggets right now are doing what they need to do to make sure everything's right, and they're making sure that they're ready for this thing. But I don't think that they're giving anywhere near 100% of their turbo button, right? Like, they're waiting to the playoffs to find the next gear, which is what great teams in this situation do. It's why we have a hard time anointing young teams that we haven't seen go through this run, because we know that teams that have gone through this run understand how to find a different level of intensity when playoff basketball starts. Denver absolutely has that. Like, I'm wild. As much as I love OKC, and I keep saying on this show that OKC is going to repeat if they're healthy, I would not be comfortable betting my house OKC, the Nuggets, or San Antonio. Any one of those teams, to me, are NBA champions this year. So I think all three of them deserve a lot more respect, and I don't think it's disrespectful to say that the Rockets are not in that category and that the Rockets category that they're in, while fun, is not disruptive.
And look, the Rockets aren't going to hit 4 of their 33 three-point attempts on any given night. Like, you can probably expect that on any given night, the Rockets are going to make more than 5 of their 14 free throw attempts. Like, you can probably assume that on any given night, the Rockets are shooting better than 43% from the field. Like, that was a statistical anomaly. Credit to Denver's defense. Of course, that's two sides of every story. So you're going to expect more from Houston on any given night. But the fact that we did see that kind of performance against a team that we legitimately view as a championship contender, that we legitimately view as a contender in the West, that's, hey, look, I never like to overreact to one game, but that's what I need to see, to know that these two teams are in completely different tiers. Would I be surprised if Houston wins the playoff series or two? One playoff series, no, I won't be surprised. 2, I will.
Yeah, I think the line is pretty staggering, and the gap is getting even wider. All right, we'll keep breaking it down because we're always going to admit what means something and what doesn't on this show in these NBA schedules. Got a meaningful night tonight, too, so we'll catch you up on some of that. But coming up next, a double threat. Somebody that not only knows the association back and forth, but somebody that also out there doing God's work. Esports, Clix, going to join us next.
Criticism like that from a coach in the moment, how are you feeling when that's happening and the film's on screen?
Yeah, man, I think it's you listen more to the message and not the tone of the message. I mean, I think it's actually better to get called out than to not, because it shows not only like you're not worried about getting your feelings hurt. Like, they're not worried about hurting my feelings. And that's something I love about our coach. Like, he's not really worried about hurting your feelings. He's going to tell you, shoot it to you straight. And for me, like, I've always thrived under coaches that do that.
We are ranking the biggest robberies in MLS histories, the players who looked at their team owners and said, thanks for the cash, and gave absolutely nothing in return. If your team is on this list, we are very, very sorry. Danielson, FC Dallas. His contract was for $879,000.
If you're watching this, look at his photo. He don't even look interested to be there in the photo.
With 10 appearances, he effectively got nearly $100,000 per game.
I'm sitting there watching Unreal, and they're talking about you in WWE at the Royal Rumble, just being thrown into the ring. You ever getting back in the ring for one of those opportunities again after that injury?
Man, I don't know. I mean, we got WrestleMania coming up, so you maybe see me in there, you maybe not. I'm just not trying to get beat up, but we'll see. Like, I got beat up too much times. My body can't take that anymore.
We'll teaser from the one and only Nate Diaz, unfinished business. And then he expanded on that on Twitter and said, I'll see you soon. I'm coming.
What about Dustin? Dustin versus Nate. Big fight. That could be a co-main or a main for a big fight card.
One that we always wanted to see.
One that Dustin has said, that'll get me out of retirement. The UFC could use him more than ever. They need stars now.
All right, we see this here. Clix getting dunked on by Chris Paul. Look, I want to throw shade here, but my God, like I've been dunked on by so many people in my life. This is epic. Anytime you can get dunked on by an NBA legend, I love every ounce of this. Click's going to have some fun with us now. Cody Conrad, we appreciate your time, man. All right, walk me through what happens there. What gets you in a situation where you're playing ball in general? A short court or not, like short rim or not, what gets you to hanging out with Chris Paul there?
Yeah, so we were doing a AT&T event with Exa, and I'm going to be honest, I've never got dunked on before. I didn't know there was a certain rule where if you are under the basket, someone dunks on you. So, by the way, that was the third time I was dunked on within, no joke, 30 seconds. So, having Chris Paul dunk on me, especially on the day of his retirement, was like, I'm honestly not even mad. It was a surreal experience.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll say this quickly before Caroline takes it. I was just real quick. I will say I once was playing in a gym in Chicago, and I was playing. There were a bunch of women's college basketball players for DePaul, and one of them crossed over and then went off. They had the mat right behind because the wall was so close. She jumped off the mat, leaped up, and dunked, and just hung there on me. And like I just looked at him like I'm not even mad at him. Go ahead, Caroline.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. Hey, at least mine was Chris Paul. At least mine was Chris Paul. I'm gonna be honest.
Mine was a D1. Like she played D1 college ball for DePaul, so she
okay. So it it was still valid.
I'll admit
it was still valid.
I'll admit it.
Everyone's
It is
getting
what it
dunked
is.
on by Pauls. Chris Paul,
Yep.
D Paul, everyone's getting dunked on. I've never
That's
been
right.
dunked on because I would never put myself in that position because that would be far too humbling. But Cody, we know that you've had the opportunity to work with so many different NBA players. You've gotten to interact with so many of them. So what's one of your favorite stories and favorite interactions with an NBA star?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna have to say, either Austin Reeves or Chris Paul. Austin Reeves, we were after a Lakers game, and he told me, he looked at me, and was like, "By the way, I watch you," and I was like, Austin. I'm literally talking to Austin Reeves. I'm like the biggest fan of the Lakers and of him, of course. He's like literally a GOAT. So when he told me that he knows me off of Fortnite and clips and everything, I mean, it was one of those experiences that you stream every day. I compete every single day, but you don't know who's watching. Like someone like Austin Reeves. Same to Chris Paul. He FaceTimed his kids, and his kids were freaking out off of Chris Paul being with me, but the legend in the room was Chris Paul. So it was a crazy experience, dude. So definitely those are two crazy interactions.
It's also amazing because as we were digging into your background, we were told you got a scholarship offer to play basketball at Duke, and instead, you choose competitive Fortnite. Walk me through sort of what went into that decision and why you went the direction you went.
Yeah, man. Well, I got offered to play D1 at Duke because I used to play basketball back in the day, I'm telling you, 12 hours a day. But then Fortnite started coming up, and Fortnite, it was popping. Every single person was playing Fortnite, during the COVID area. And I started playing so much to the point where I feel like I got ahead of everybody else. So then when I was 13, I finally went professional. And now I'm 21 and I still compete. We compete 6 times a week. So I'm on my computer. No joke, from the second I wake up at 11 p.m. to the second I go to bed at 3 a.m. So it's a big schedule.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. And if you don't have blue light glasses, I mean, maybe I'm showing my age here, but if you have any good blue light glasses recommendations, there we go. Protect those pupils there.
Yeah.
Do you get an opportunity to watch much basketball, whether it's college or NBA?
Yeah, honestly, it sucks because my schedule overlaps with most games. What competition starts at 6 p.m. to 11 to 12 p.m. So I've really I have my chat open, so I can't really watch basketball games. But when I'm off, I try to go to as many Mavs games. I live right next to the stadium, so I try my hardest.
Awesome.
I love basketball. It's very it's my therapeutic thing,
It's interesting to me because I'm a longtime advocate of esports in general. My logic has always been this. I have a music background, right? So when I was a little kid, I was playing the violin 8 hours a day. And at the time, that was considered so culturally, that was a good thing to do. Nobody ever questioned it, right? I hear constantly people say, oh, this gaming generation, everybody's spending hours in front of a computer, blah, 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 blah. I don't see how there isn't more parallels. If you want to be a great musician, you give up your entire life to be a great musician. If you want to be a great gamer, you give up your entire life to be a great gamer. What do you think is the biggest misperception or misconception that people have about what you do?
Well, a lot of people, especially parents, they don't realize that you could actually make a career with video games. So when I was 13, my parents trusted me and they helped me get a PC, which is the computer to a really good gaming computer. So they trusted me and I took off. But most parents, they don't even give their children an opportunity to. And a lot of parents can't afford it, of course, but they don't understand that your kid isn't just playing video games. He might have inspirations, dreams. He's manifesting to take over and become a pro. So it's now in this year, 2026, the amount of kids that are professional gamers, the amount of kids in general make money off of online stuff, could be video games, could be anything else, is insane. It's absolutely insane.
It is insane. I should have gotten in on video games earlier, but now here I am, which, hey, there could be worse things.
You're in a good
but
spot.
I want to go back for a second. I'm very happy to be doing what I'm doing, but I want to go back to what you just said. You go to as many Mavs games as possible. You live close to the arena, but you also said you're a Laker fan. So take me back to the Luka trade. Did that split your heart
that's
a little bit?
one. It definitely did. It definitely broke my heart. But they got Cooper Flag, and Cooper's nasty. He is nasty, dude. He actually used to play Fortnite. We were texting on Instagram a couple months out, so I actually think I'm going to see him in a couple of days. Where I'm going to a game. AT&T got me courtside, so I think we're going to be linking up. But it sucked, dude. It sucked.
So
Jaden Lucas sucked.
Are you comfortable going out there and just kicking the snot out of an NBA player at Fortnite? We saw you get dunked on. Are you doing the equivalent in your world to any NBA guys?
any NBA guy, if they hop on Fortnite to any game mode, they are not going to touch me in a single round, and I will put everything on that. Like, there's levels to it when it comes to any professional thing in the world. The pros are always going to take it home.
Oh, of course. So, but we know, obviously doing what we do, we know the everyday routine of a professional basketball player, football player, hockey player, baseball player, whatever it is. We know they lift, and it's all about the nutrition and practice, so on and so forth. So what's your training regimen in esports?
That's an interesting question. It's a lot different than basketball players, but it's also similar in the same way. So I wake up. By the way, you need to have good sleep. If I have bad sleep, that tournament today is completely sold. But it's really just about like sitting on your computer and trying to learn. Like I rewatch myself compete probably 3 hours a day, no matter what, but I'm on my computer practicing stuff that I'm not good at from literally like 12 hours a day. So there's not really a set necessarily routine. Every day is different because every single day is a different tournament or a different stream or a different thing that we have to do. But basically the main agenda every single day is to be on and just try to learn something that I don't know already about the game.
How much time are you spending figuring out what the next game or the next feature is? Like, I know Fortnite's huge now, but in 5 years, what's going to be huge? So how much do you spend looking at whatever the up-and-coming thing is?
Yeah, well, I've been competing for 9 years now, or 8 years, 8 to 9 years. So I don't think I'm going to play a different game ever. I mean, to be honest, like competition-wise. Fortnite is just one of those games that it keeps evolving. There's new things every single month. Like there's new seasons, they call it, where it's like a revamp of the whole entire game, the whole entire map. So in 6 days, there's a whole new season. They're trashing the map, adding something new. So then every single player, especially myself and streamers, are fully refreshed. So super excited for that.
That's awesome. And I'm sure there can be difficulties with that as well. I used to work in social media, and we said, okay, well, if Twitter or Snapchat decides to completely redo their algorithm, well, then our process completely changes, and that's out of our hands. So what is that experience like for you, having your career built on something that you don't have control over?
Right. Well, that's the difference between a normal player and then a professional player. Fortnite's one of the biggest games where it's like it's an adapting game. You don't really know what's going to happen next. You have to adapt in the moment. There's a lot of they call it RNG. It's basically a lot of luck in the game. So you just need to be prepared for that because it's tough, dude. It's really tough. So after 9 years of competing, I've dealt with probably, no joke, 50 different versions of the same game, different loot, different. It's hard to explain it to you because it's like I'm using words that don't really make sense, but it's so fun and entertaining. Like if you watch a Fortnite tournament and you really understand on what's going on in the end game, you found a team to root for and you're watching every tournament.
So who inspired you through all of this? Like who do you look up to in this world?
That is a great question. So when I first started, I'll go back to when I was 13, 12. I was probably looking up to this dude named Mongrel. He was always popping. He was always like doing edit courses. He's like the edit god, they would call him. And I would always watch him mimic what he was doing. And then finally, as much mimicking as I did, I actually became just as good as him, if not better right now. You know what I'm saying? So he was definitely a big intro when I was a kid.
So what do you think is next for the world of esports? Not just for you personally or for the game of Fortnite, but the game of esports. How can it continue to grow? What's the next step?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, it's already growing. We were just in France and the crowd was, there was probably 10,000 people in the crowd screaming, like the cheering. Like I was competing and I could feel my desk of the mouse and keyboard fully vibrating. Like my heart was jumping out. So I think every single day it's growing as Fortnite or different types of games continue to have an esports and to put money on the line. Like Fortnite this year, they put, I think, $10 million on just competition. So when kids hear that, oh yeah, that's a nice photo of me. That was Pro-Am when my buddy, when we won. That crowd was nuts as well. That was in Los Angeles. So it's definitely interesting to see where they go. Because the more money they put up, the more kids and the more kids they tell their parents and, oh my God, I want to compete. And then boom, next generation is now competing. So we'll see what Fortnite does.
All right. So then what's the hardest part of controlling adrenaline? Like athletes always worry about the first quarter, the beginning of games, even musicians. Man, I remember the first time I played the Garden, it was not a good show. It was the worst show I ever played, right? Because I wasn't ready for that adrenaline, right? So like For you, 10,000 people, what's the hardest part of controlling your adrenaline?
Well, experience is definitely everything. My first tournament, so I dropped out of middle school when I was 13, and my tournament that I qualified for that kind of made me take off was this thing called World Cup. It was probably like over a million people watching. It was the biggest esports event ever. First place was $3 million with a total of $30 million prize pool. I got 18th. I won a lot of money, but during then the adrenaline it was my first like tournament. My adrenaline was absolutely through the roof. But now it's like 8 years later, I show up to a tournament and I'm super calm. The first game you have a little bit of jitters, but after the first game, you're in flow state, just dialed in.
I know that you dropped out of school to pursue this full time. I'm sure it
Yeah.
was a scary decision for you and your family to make. How did you know that was the right decision for you?
Well, you definitely don't know it's the right decision, but I really like sat down with myself and I was like, okay, if I want to make this happen and if I want to make my dreams come true and become a professional gamer, content creator, and all that good stuff, I'm going to have to give up school to put in more hours because I was already ahead of everybody else. But how do I get ahead of the top people? And that's by not going to school, grinding during the hours of school, and getting obviously ahead of everybody else. It was tough, but my parents kind of were skeptical about it. But that was after I won a lot of money, so they understood it more, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you give to parents or to kids right now that are 12 or 13 that are trying to figure out how to become you?
Well, it's a different game now, so I would not say drop out of school because when I dropped out of school, it was one of those moments where there was no professional players. We kind of paved the way. But kids, I would tell a lot of people watching that it's like if you have a dream, and my biggest thing when I hop online is always just manifest your dreams, manifest your dreams, manifest your dreams. Don't tell anybody that you can't do it because that's true. Any dream that you have the ability to make it a reality, whether your parents tell you not, whether your friends tell you not. Like people were looking at me crazy. The counselors in school, my whole school, I would tell them I was going to become a professional video game player. And they looked at me like I was absolutely crazy. But then when you do it, everyone's just like your biggest fan. So it's okay to be delusional. It really is.
That's amazing advice. Look, as somebody that everybody told me I was crazy as a kid that wanted to be a musician, I made it. And then everybody told me I was crazy to quit music to get into sports. I made it. So like I feel this all the way in my core, dude. It's inspiring.
Exactly.
It's inspiring to see you go out and be a trendsetter for something that you love. Congratulations on all your success, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate everything. Keep killing it. We know you will. But it's been awesome to hang out with you. Thanks for giving us all of the insight, my friend.
Thank you so much. And I would really appreciate if you guys watch a Fortnite tournament and just try to understand it, because I'm telling you, it is more entertaining than you think. It really is once you understand it.
I am 100% in. I will watch and I will be rooting for. I'll be screaming at my TV the entire time. So I love every ounce of this. Go out there, win a bunch of money, man. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Thanks.
Thank you guys so much. Y'all have a good day.
Thank
That's
you
great
so
stuff,
much.
and I absolutely love what they're growing there. All right, coming up next, on target or on something with some of the NFL moves we've seen so far. We'll break it down.
Well, one of the things, too, that keeps coming up, I keep hearing, and it kept coming up in response to my story after the hearing and during the hearing, is, hey, why doesn't he just go pro? Imagine being a college kid and making $5 million plus.
It's pretty easy. It's just money, guys. It's guaranteed money. This is probably, for most of these individuals, the last time they can make this much money playing the sport.
How can I sit here in one breath and say the sport is broken when it looks like the audience is more pleased with the sport than ever?
It's not broke. It's just we've been drinking out of a fire hose for 3 years. But it can't just be pay them, kick them off the team, next guy, next team. I worry about these kids' long-term health and what they're going to do with their lives when they're 26 and 27, when they have no roots at any university.
James Rodriguez is reportedly joining Minnesota United. The main thing as a fan of the league, I would just be excited to see him play. And then Minnesota against NYCFC, get to go see James. And what if that game is at City Field, bro? Queens is going to lose their mind.
It's going to go nuts. Astoria and Jackson Heights will be empty. There will be 3 Uruguayans, 4 Argentinians, and 6 Mexicans, and all of Jackson Heights going, what the hell's going on? Where is everybody?
Admittedly, I'm a huge fan of Travis Hunter as a prospect. Do you have any sense of what his growth is going to be like, where he might be playing more and more, what his role is going to look like, especially on the offensive side?
The way he is, his personality, I think this injury in his rookie year is only going to just make him better. He was starting to really get going on offense, and we were starting to click. So who knows what the rep count looks like, but I know he's a special receiver when he gets the ball in his hands.
The Seahawks' losses so far this offseason, while the list may not be as long as a team like the Ravens, it has some names that made a huge impact. Kenneth Walker III, Boye Mafe, Tariq Woolen, and, of course, Kobe Bryant, which has sort of us asking the real question that we love to ask on this show in general, on target or on something. And this is where we figure out some of the movement we've seen, and we're going to figure out whether usually it's a one particular thing. We're going to figure out if these teams are on target or on something with the way it has gone so far. So, Caroline, let's start with the Super Bowl champion Seahawks. On target or on something that it has been so quiet, we haven't seen much, only a few losses. It's just been a whisper from Seattle.
Yeah, I think they're on something here. Not onto something, but on something. And look, I do believe that winning a championship, while nobody will admit it publicly, I'm sure that does change a little bit how you approach a certain level of aggression for the next season. Of course, winning a championship doesn't keep everybody at bay every single year. That doesn't mean that you can just take your foot off the gas, but I'm sure it does change your approach. But there's a lot of change happening in Seattle. There's a reason why Super Bowl hangovers or championship hangovers exist. It's because when you win a championship, everyone wants a piece of that. There's a brain drain that happens when you win a championship. I mean, Seattle just lost Clint Kubiak. So now you're changing your offensive coordinator when you have a defensive-minded head coach. So your offensive coordinator is going to take total and complete ownership of the offense. So, is the next offensive coordinator that's coming in that was elevated to the offensive coordinator position, is there going to be a seamless transition? Maybe, but I would venture to guess probably not. That's maybe some wishful thinking that's happening. So you lose Kenneth Walker, the reigning Super Bowl MVP. I have to think there's going to be at least a little bit of a hiccup in the run game. With all of the pieces they're losing defensively, I have to think there's a little bit of a hiccup there, no matter how genius of a defensive mind Mike McDonald is. So I think they're crazy, not with the number of players that they've lost in free agency, but the amount of talent in general, including the coaching staff that they've lost. I think they're on something if they think that they can just run it back with what they have.
Right. Brian Fleury is the new offensive coordinator. He comes over having previously been the 49ers run game coordinator and tight ends coach. To your point, that is a huge unknown. And while we could say, hey, look, let's give McDonald a lot of credit. He brought in Clint Kubiak. That you're right, 100%. But also the year before that, he brought in Ryan Grubb, and that did not work at all as an offensive coordinator. So how often do we see this? The number of times we've talked about this with good football teams. Philadelphia, some years they're great, some years they're not. Depends on whether or not they found the right coordinators that year. The Lions spent all year last year telling us, don't worry, these coaches know football. And then it was evident throughout the course of the year that they took a step back with their coordinator changes. So there's been some significant, while there might not be a huge laundry list of names, they are significant names to Seattle. And in addition to that, they do have some change to their coaching staff that makes me at least nervous about a Seahawks team that I was high on early. I believe a lot in Mike McDonald as a head coach. I do believe that defense is going to be fine, but right now I think it's a little on something how quiet it has been. How about this one? The Jacksonville Jaguars. They started slow, went on a run, got hot. Liam Cohen unlocked everything. But at this point, on target or on something, they lose ETN. Not a lot else has happened for them. How do you feel Jacksonville is doing right now?
Yeah, it's been quiet. I also think that they are on something because let's not forget the Jags don't have a first-round pick. They traded it to trade up to draft Travis Hunter. So the Jags don't have draft capital or at least are lacking in draft capital, and they're losing their leading rusher. We talk a lot about how Travis Etienne hasn't, lived up to expectations. And sure, yeah, I'm totally down to have that conversation. But let's not forget that in Travis Etienne's 4 years in the NFL, 3 of them have come in the form of 1,000+ yard seasons. So that's a big part of your run game, obviously, your leading rusher. And Travis Etienne has also contributed in the passing game. So I think that the Jags are on something because they're not just losing him, but they don't have a first-round pick to replace everything that they've lost in free agency.
Yeah, you're right. So originally I had this on target, and I think I'll be the first to admit that maybe I was overcompensating. I doubted Liam Cohen last year, so then I feel like we come into this year. They were better than I thought they would be, but I don't love just where are the weapons going to come from? Maybe Hunter gets healthy and everything's fine, and but where are they using Hunter? How are they going to split that? There's been plenty of discourse about that already. Brian Thomas Jr. appears to be on the trade market. We'll see once we get through the draft if he's still there. They don't, to your point, have a first-round draft pick. Like, I don't feel worse about the Jags because they exceeded all my expectations last year. But I certainly today, right now, as we sit with on this Thursday, I don't feel better about the Jags. So I think you're right. I think I'm going to go on something. What about the Denver Broncos? Okay, the Broncos have been wildly. I mean, Frank Schwab mentioned it earlier on this show. Go check it out. It's all over YouTube for us. He mentioned it earlier. It's been really quiet. So are they on target or on something?
Again, I'll be consistent. I think the Broncos are on something. You're in a Super Bowl window. You just went to the AFC Championship game. Now is not the time to take your foot off the gas, Sean. Now is the time to keep pushing, keep spending, do whatever it takes to keep your team together and to get better. And look, the Broncos haven't done nothing. They've re-signed a lot of their own players, but I am of the belief that you don't get better by signing your own players in free agency. Sure, you avoid getting worse, but running it back with the same team doesn't put you over the edge. It just gives you what you had last year. And let's not forget, the Broncos won a lot of close games last year. A lot of close games. When the NFL giveth, the NFL taketh away. There's no guarantee that this year, if the Broncos find themselves in similar positions, that they're going to win the same close games that they won last year. I mean, the pendulum swings. Like, there's no guarantee that the ball's going to bounce your way in some of those close games if you don't set yourself over the top with supplementing with even more talent. I'm shocked the Broncos have been as quiet as they are, and I don't agree with it. When you're in a window, when you have a change at play caller, not offensive coordinator, which the Broncos have, you want to supplement that and give yourself an insurance policy with talent. You get that by spending money.
Yeah, I'm with you on this, especially because the Chargers feel like they got better. I'm never going to believe that the Chiefs are actually left for dead. I don't believe that the Ravens are just going to sit here and implode in front of our eyes, and I still believe that the Bills are a constant contender. So you're not just competing with whatever last season was in this new construct of the AFC. I don't feel better about the Broncos today than I did going into the AFC Championship game, and I still think, to your point, there's a lot left to prove. One more. We'll get one more in. How about we get into the Philadelphia Eagles? They did make a move. They signed Tariq Woolen, who we just mentioned, left Seattle. That's their only move so far, though. The A.J. Brown stuff is quieted down, but it's been a weird offseason. I don't know. I feel like they're on something, and it's bad. I mean, 17 different offensive coordinators interviewed for that job before they found somebody that wanted one. My God, something feels just like you open the fridge sometimes and you smell and you're like, man, what is that? Like, I can't find anything that's expired, but something smells bad. That's how I feel about the Eagles. They are the fridge that you open. You don't know exactly what it is that stinks, but something inside there has spoiled.
I'm with you. I'm going 4 for 4 here. And maybe everyone can learn my philosophy of roster construction. Spend money and get good free agents. I think the Eagles are on something. I think that they're also experiencing the double-edged sword of hitting in the draft and having a lot of young talent. It's great and all when everybody's on rookie deals. And then everyone's second contract comes due at the same time. And then you're forced to have to make decisions. And that's what the Eagles did, signing Jordan Davis, but moving on from Nakobe Dean. So I think that they are on something for not trying to, run it back and not trying to supplement the team that they have. Like, the Eagles still have, even with some of the talent that they've lost in free agency. I think the Eagles still have a Super Bowl caliber roster. But not just by sitting on your hands. You have to go get better players and replace the players that you lost in free agency. The vibes are bad in Philly, Fitz. The vibes are very bad.
I agree.
And not even
I
a
agree.
positive.
The vibes are good. Yeah. They need like an emotional support little stuffed animal. The vibes are great for Yahoo Sports. By the way, tourney season is here. You can catch me and Caroline this Sunday and Monday for Tourney Bracket Live right here on the Yahoo Sports Network. I'm hosting the men's show. You see it there at 8 p.m. Eastern with Kevin O'Connor, King McClure, Dallin Cuff, buddies of mine. Caroline, you're on the women's show with Ice Young, Jordan Robinson, Cassandra Negley, Monday afternoon at noon. We'll break down the 4 regions. We'll give you Cinderellas and much more. You can check them out on YouTube or right here on the Yahoo Sports Network. Also, we'll be back right here tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. Thanks so much for watching. Come back, hang out with us again tomorrow. Have a great day.